What? I think he thinks the grenade's coming here and he's further out in the frag pass.
Right. Good afternoon. I don't often get to say that. It's usually good morning, but it's terrific to see everybody. Hopefully we didn't have too much for lunch. I don't want to see anybody snoozing, then I'll feel like a pastor up here with the back row sleeping. So we're going to go ahead and call today's regular commission meeting to order for Thursday, March 14th at 1 o'clock. We are very blessed today to have Pastor Fred Rogers with us. He's going to come up, if you'll indulge us, with rising. He's going to lead us in a word of prayer, and then Commissioner Lynchard will lead us with the pledge.
All right, shall we pray? Father, we're thankful for your manifold blessings upon our lives. Lord, we thank you for your promise that, Lord, if we would just obey you and follow you, that you would bless every effort that we have. We thank you for this group of commissioners, for their commitment to bettering our county. We ask that you would give them the wisdom of Solomon that they need and the fortitude, Lord, to make decisions that will be the best for our county. Bless them, bless this meeting today, and we'll honor you in your wonderful name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I tell you what, we had the privilege, all of our commissioners today, except obviously Commissioner Salter, for those of you that weren't here Monday, has suffered a loss in the family, so that's why he's not with us here today, and our prayers and thoughts are with him and his family. But we had the opportunity with our staff to attend the change of command for the Training Air Wing 5 just a few hours ago out at Whiting Field, and saying that pledge and getting to see those folks out there just reminds us of how blessed we are to be here in the United States of America, and we appreciate all those men and women that are serving us today and that have served in the past. So today I'm going to ask for approval of the minutes. I will start with my far right with Commissioner Peach. Do we have any items that would need, the approval of the agenda? Do we have any items to add or that we need to take off of the consent agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Dan?
No changes, sir. I got 3 items I want to highlight at the end before we start public forum.
Okay, thank you.
No changes.
Thank you. Roger, Stephen? Okay, thank you. And I will go ahead and make a motion to approve today's agenda, and I will also make a motion without objection to approve the minutes unless I hear any objection. Hearing none, those are approved. And actually, I about approved it on us. The one thing I did have a lady here in the audience that said she had a couple questions, so I apologize. I just jumped ahead of myself. Under the engineer's report, she said she would like to ask a question on under the consent agenda, engineer's report, item number 2 and 3 she had asked about, and then there was one under economic development of sorry, bear with me as I find it. It was to do with Whiting Aviation Park. Somebody's is under the budget amendment.
There's a budget amendment for Whiting Aviation Park.
Thank you. Item number 7 under budget amendment, and I apologize for jumping over that. We will move those, if you don't mind, to the regular agenda, just so that she'll have that opportunity to ask those questions since she drove up here today. Noting no other changes. First, here on the agenda is we have the opportunity to read a proclamation. It's an exciting time. It's the 100th anniversary for the American Legion, and for that I have asked Commissioner Cole to lead us down that road. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my privilege to read this proclamation that pertains to our American Legion here in the country, and we have representatives from the Legion Hall, post number 382 down in Navarre. Thanks for being here today, and we're privileged to read this proclamation. It says, whereas the American Legion was founded in March 1919 in Paris, France by the U.S. World War I military personnel stationed there and has been a staunch advocate for veterans and their families. And whereas with a current membership of 2.2 million wartime veterans, the American Legion was founded on the 4 principal pillars of care for veterans, a strong national defense, Americanism, children, and youth. Whereas the American Legion has played a leading role in initiatives and breakthroughs that have affected the lives of Americans in every community, from U.S. flag code to the GI Bill. And whereas the American Legion is celebrating its centennial in 2018 and 19 with a 15-month celebration running from its national convention, which was held August 18, 2018 through Veterans Day 2019. Whereas the American Legion's 100th anniversary mantra is legacy and vision, both a celebration of past accomplishments and a renewal of the organization's resolve to serve the community, state, and nation for a second century. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Rosa County do hereby support the American Legion and join in this special time of recognition for contributions to the national security and the welfare of military veterans, their families, and their community. This is passed and adopted today by the Board of County Commissioners and signed by our Chairman, Sam Parker. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Anything else to say? Okay.
If you don't have any further words, we'll ask you to come up here with us, if you will, and we'll present this with you and take a photo.
And so it's on the record, just while we're getting lined up for the photos, on Saturday from noon till about 3-4 o'clock, post 382, we'll be having an open house in celebration of this 100th year recognition. So if you're a veteran, I'm sure they'd like to have you come down and maybe even consider joining the Legion. Thank you. Got to put in a plug.
Thank you, thank you.
You want to grab that?
I get in the middle.
You gotta be the beauty star.
They always try to do that.
I'm balancing. There we go.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'll look at you first.
You want to get one for her?
Get a box of stamps.
And then look at her.
Gentlemen, thank y'all so very much. Thank you so very much. And y'all want to give this one back to me Saturday? Yes, sir. All right, thank you, we appreciate it.
All right. It is just a great day. It seems like it's perpetually getting to recognize and honor our military members today. All right, next we are going to go to our County Administrator, Dan Shebler, and he is going to lead us in a presentation about the Employee of the Year recognition as well as those that were nominated. So, Dan?
So one thing that my predecessor started was employee recognition, a program. I think he brought it from Public Services and expanded it to countywide. It's my honor to continue that, and I thought it important to bring our employees of the quarter here. We've talked about them here in this meeting, but we actually have them sitting here today. We're going to walk through just a couple pictures and some of their, to recap what got them to be the Employee of the Quarter, and then one of these four has been selected to be our Santa Rosa County Employee of the Year, and we'll announce that at the end. So our first quarter, Mr. Carroll, if you'll stand up front here, or I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson was the first quarter. Tim works down in the Road and Bridge Department. And he, go ahead to go to the next slide. We awarded him the first quarter. His supervisor, or his supervisor's supervisor is sitting over here with Mr. Furman. Some of the hardest working people we have out there on the road, and Tim stands out down there. He's recognized consistently for his work ethic and his positive attitude. He also works with our inmates and supervises those, which is an additional challenge, making sure that not only the work gets done, but he's got an eye on and taking care of those folks who are there contributing. He's an equipment operator. He's also a volunteer firefighter, and he's recognized by his peers and his supervisor as always being able to remain calm and have a positive attitude. So Tim was selected from the Road and Bridge Department as our employee for the first quarter. For the second quarter, it was Adam Carroll. Adam, you can come up now. You can stay right there, Tim. Adam You get to stand up there the longest. And this is the best part. None of these people wanted to be here. They would rather be at work doing stuff than standing here in front of you. But I think it's important to recognize these employees that do so much. Adam was recognized. He's been on the team just a few short years, but has already made a big difference in the electrical as an electrical inspector in the building department. He was nominated by his supervisor Tambry and Rhonda from the building department. And he's just been a contributor, always doing things right the first time, making sure that those inspections are done, willing to go the extra mile as a team player to help out when he can, also reviewing plans when he's not out in the field conducting inspections. So recognized from the building department. Our third quarter is Darlene. Darlene's been here a little bit longer than a few years, and she is a stalwart. She's had every job in the planning department except Sean's job, I think, and that's the one she's not interested in. But she always takes the initiative. She's a GIS expert. I was actually down there at a meeting this morning, and she was mapping something for me to turn, easement language into a picture that, naval flight officers can understand. So dependable and positive attitude as well. And she was nominated by Sean Ward, her supervisor down there in planning and zoning. And then the fourth quarter was Elizabeth. Elizabeth Brumfield works in our GIS department down here in IT. She's been with us. She's worked at many county agencies, but she's back with the Board of County Commissioners. She was instrumental in our first GIS day that was hosted back in November, putting that together, educating some students and some citizens about GIS capabilities, and always lends a hand to the other departments. Our GIS software is used throughout the county departments, in Road and Bridge, in 911, and having that all tied together and linking it up with the information they get from the property appraiser. It's a powerful tool that I'm still learning how to understand everything it can do, and Elizabeth makes it simple. You can always go by her office and ask a question, and she'll have a map for you probably that again, a picture. Pilots like pictures. So these are our four nominees. It really is an honor to have folks like this working on the county staff, and these are the four best of the probably 24 or so folks that were nominated over the course of the year in the various quarters. So it's my honor today to announce that Adam Carroll was selected, and Adam is our 2018 Santa Rosa County Employee of the Year. I'm not going to make him speak because then he might quit, but I will make him come up here and take a picture with the board.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Adam, we made it a little easier for you this time than we did the last time. So, when I was chairman, I had the privilege of giving Adam the quarterly employee, and we called him in, and Tamara and Rhonda and Dan were in there, and we all had stern looks on our face, and I started scolding them for all the complaints that I'd had and how, we needed to really pick up the bar, and Dan fell right in on top of it. He as administrator, he took the ball and ran with it. So Adam thought it was his last day on the job that day. so thank you.
Thank you. I will say I know a lot of folks from the community don't get to see the work that goes in, and again, it's not just county staff. It's City of Milton staff and Gulf Breeze and Jay, and of course our firefighters and first responders and everything from, like Dan said, the GIS to the plans examiners. These folks truly have a heart to serve, and that's why they do it. So we do appreciate them. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, and now noting the 3 items of earlier, items 2 and 3 under engineers report, and item number 7 under budget and financial management. Other than those items which will move to the regular agenda, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda without objection. Hearing no objection, the consent agenda is approved. That takes us on to the regular agenda, and we will start out with Economic Development Committee. Item number 1 is the Strive Grant Program. This is a very exciting opportunity that I think is going to help many hardworking business folks in our community. And so, Erica, thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon. At Monday's meeting, there were 3 requested changes which staff is happy to implement. The change number 1 is that we require 2 bids or cost estimates from applicants. Change number 2 is that there's no penalty for code violations unless they were resolved in a timely manner. And request number 3 was that we tie the building owner to the facade grant and the business owner to the sign grant. Those changes were requested at Monday's meeting. We are happy to implement them into the process. The one remaining item that needs to be addressed is the clawback, whether or not we have clawbacks associated with this grant award. At Monday's meeting, staff proposed a 24-month clawback with 100% of the grant award needing to be repaid if the business is sold within the first year, and 50% to be repaid if the business is sold within the second year. There was some discussion on that, and for that item, staff would request guidance from the board.
Commissioner Lynch, I'm going to go to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would support leaving the clawbacks in, the 100% year 1, 50% year 2, and then no payback after that.
Is that the will of the board? Okay. And I just want to clarify, I think it was, I do it all the time messing up, but I just want to make sure the one where we said there'll be no penalty for code enforcement if they complied, right?
Yes, if the issue was addressed within a timely manner.
All right. I think it
Yes.
may have come out of here different, but I just wanted to clear it up, so thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, with that then, I don't know if we have any further discussion from any board members, members of the audience. Without that, I will make a motion to approve that with those amendments, and thank you so much, Erica, for working on that, and I'll make that motion without objection. Hearing none, that item is approved, and again, thank you so much, Erica and Shannon, for working on that. Thank you even Sheila for allowing Erica to go over there and help Erica with that. So y'all are definitely the engines that keep the train going behind the scenes. Next, moving on to the Administrative Committee. Item number 1 is purchase of property to support Ranchettes HMGP project. We had some discussion on this on Monday. I believe it's why we kept it on the agenda, just to see if there were any further discussion on this. I don't know that we have any new information to add unless anyone wants to bring that to my attention.
I have included in the backup a draft contract. I've discussed it with Mr. Rios' attorney, Mr. Palmer. Their concern was that they be able to review the latest engineering design, which the engineer has now submitted as of yesterday or today, I think. And the indication from Mr. Palmer was that if they were satisfied with that, they would sign the contract that I drafted that doesn't have any contingency for engineering. That contingency would be met prior to them entering into the contract. The contract is still contingent upon us getting the funding for the grant and upon us receiving all necessary easements and rights-of-way for the construction, which at this point looks to be about 57 parcels.
Thank you, Roy.
So I would just add on that, the next steps, pending the board's action on this item, would be to work with the right-of-way consultant to identify easement values for the various types of easements and have an item on the March 25th agenda, probably to lay out the plan on what can be offered for each of those easements. We don't have a bottomless pit of money to offer for easements, so we're going to work through defining what those are worth and what we're going to offer. We will probably ask for board action on Monday and schedule a public meeting on later that week where all those property owners would be invited, the right-of-way consultant would be there, and then they would be empowered then to close the deal on as many of those easements as they could at that one meeting.
Thank you, Dan. This is in Commissioner Lynchard's district, so I'll defer to you, Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move approval without objection.
Hearing no objection, the item is approved. Item number 2 is an event request. This is a discussion of a request from RE Development Incorporated to utilize the county auditorium for a Tracy Byrd concert scheduled for March 28, 2019. The applicant's requesting a variance to sell alcohol. I believe Mark had the opportunity to meet with some of those folks, had gotten a call. This is actually a very exciting thing for not only the city of Milton, but really Santa Rosa County. We have the pleasure of having some nationally known folks. I think one of our famous golfers, Boo Weekley, was involved with this and helping the Imogene secure, this performer. We've all heard probably the Watermelon Crawl and some of those other popular songs that Tracy Byrd did in his heyday. And so they have sold more tickets than the Imogene will allow them to hold. So that is why they're wanting to hold it in the Santa Rosa County Auditorium. But if no one else has any further questions, or Dan, do you have something to add?
Well, just a couple additional things. I think they're going to have to provide an outside generator for the power source for some of their equipment for the performance. We are still waiting on the alcohol liability insurance documentation, and then also we are including a stipulation in the approval that they would have at least 3 off-duty deputies there for the concert. We just make sure that the venue is taken care of.
Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dan or Roy, are venues like these that use county facilities also obligated to, I know we got a set rate we charge for the auditorium. Do we also add to that, or can we, maybe not to this one, but in the future, like a percentage of the gate, and then, all the, like the pier, Juana's pay us a percentage of sales. So when the alcohol gets sold, would there be a percentage of that come back to the county?
There isn't currently in any of the agreements or the way we rent these facilities. That is something that we could look to change. Those are all laid out in a resolution. If this is going to be a regular use of the county auditorium, that's something we would want to consider.
Absolutely. That, the Junates Arena, anything that's, I would think, is for profit and don't put money back to a local cause, 4-H, FAA, any, the kids' house, any of those, if it's not going back in that manner somehow, it should come to the county. So, thank you.
Thank you. I would feel comfortable making a motion to approve this with the contingency that we basically give the leeway to our county administrator and our county attorney to make sure that those necessary things such as insurance and any other things that you need to do, I would feel comfortable basically giving you authority over that. And I'll make that motion without objection. Mr. Cooey, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Jerry Cooey, 6049 Arnie's Way. Who's the owner of RE Development? Who is that? Is that Mr. Kyle Verner?
I'm not aware.
Anybody? You believe so?
I believe so. I don't know what his, I know Kyle and I know Kyle and his, association with the Imogene, but I don't know what his maybe LLC or corporation names may be.
So if indeed this is Kyle Verner, I would suggest to my commissioners a couple things. Number one, I would check with the city of Crestview before you enter in an agreement with him. And number two, I would ask the Historical Society why he was recently ejected from use of the Imogene. There's a troubling situation in Crestview. Before you jump wholeheartedly in this, I think you ought to ask those questions, in all fairness. There has been or was a rather large debt owed to the city of Crestview. And before we use our good graces in our building, in all fairness, I think you should take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'd feel comfortable even adding in that motion again that I feel well represented by our county administrator, Dan, as well as our attorney, Roy Andrews. I can amend the motion to say that we give him leeway to investigate and approve this as he sees fit. And I don't know if that would sort of cover that. And that way, if you find that there's some circumstances that would be very concerning, that I'd feel comfortable you making that decision on this case. Hearing no other comment, I'll make that without objection. Hearing none, that item's approved. That's why we are very thankful to have such a good administrator and assistant administrator on staff to handle that. And thank you, Mr. Cooey, for bringing those concerns forward. Item number 3 is the meeting list. This covers the meetings for the remainder of the month. It'll state the time and the locations as set forth. Are there any commissioners that have any concerns or needs to change any of these meeting times?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lynch.
just want to let the board know, on March 28th, there's a consortium meeting in Tallahassee, so depending on what is on the agenda, I may be out that day.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynch. Is anyone else? All right, thank you. And I'll make that motion to approve the meeting list without objection. Hearing none, that item is approved. And moving on to the engineer's report, we will have item number 1 is the Peter Prince Field, the 2 taxi projects construction. This is a recommended contract award to Panhandle Grading and Paving in the amount of $701,227.29 is low bidder, meeting specifications for the construction of 2 taxiway projects on Peter Prince Field and authorization for the chairman to sign all related documents. Contract award will be subject to FDOT concurrence. Roger, is there anything further to add to that?
Just that we do have a conference call with FAA and FDOT Aviation Office tomorrow morning.
Thank you. I'd make that motion to approve without objection. Hearing none, that item's approved. Thank you, Roger. Next, under engineer's report, are the 2 items we brought over from the consent agenda. Item number 2 is Dixon Preserve preliminary plat. This is the recommended approval of preliminary plat for Dixon Preserve, a 105-lot public subdivision located in District 1. Ma'am, you had asked me, you said you had a question. If you will, just come to the microphone and just give us your name and address, please, for the clerk.
Okay, my name is Sharon Dickinson Miller. I live at 3313 Wendy Oaks Drive in the, excuse me, right off of Woodbine. I think you guys have probably heard from our group before, Santa Rosa voters against overcrowded roads and schools. We've been in the news a little bit. You're going to see a lot more of us because we will be at every board meeting and overlooking everything. What we are trying to do is to quit the massive spread without any infrastructure set up ahead of time. So I don't know exactly where this subdivision is, but they're all over the county. And there are no provisions for infrastructure. We are trying to get you all to reinstate the impact fees. so that the developers and the builders would have to pay for some of the infrastructure rather than the citizens of the county. So that is my concern about these. There's the big one going in on Woodbine. There's another big one on Chumuckla. They're all over the place. If any of you live in the Woodbine or Chumuckla area and you have to drive to work, you know what it's like. My house is located halfway between Berry Hill and 90. It takes me a half an hour to go either way. That is a little over a mile either way, and it takes me a half an hour at rush hour right now.
Wow.
So that's what is happening all over this county. If you go on Chumuckla, you run into the same thing. East and West Spencerfield, you run into the same thing. So again, I'm not sure where this subdivision is planned, but even in Navarre, any place in this county, we are against you giving any more zoning changes, any more approving any more subdivisions until the impact fees are in place.
Okay, thank you. This is on Chumuckla Highway to answer your question.
Okay, well, there you go.
All right.
All right, so we are adamantly against that. And as I said, our group is growing daily. We are going to be in your face, so we're not going away.
Thank you.
So that's something you guys need to consider, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Thank
ma'am,
you, Commissioner Cole.
ma'am, if you might.
Yes.
I can respect you folks getting together, and hopefully you'll respect us and the job we have to do in, how we treat each other and how we talk to each other. And hopefully keep an open mind, because this board, we've announced we'd like to go after a 1-cent sales tax this fall and use it in, as we've been doing with a half-cent. Roads, sheriff's office, the lady back there is already shaking her head no. That's the problem. Nobody wants to give things a chance, and nobody knows everything they need to know before they make a decision. So that's what I'm asking you to take back to your group. Keep an open mind about things. Right now, our county administrator's working on a comparison of what we've been able to do over the last few years with a half-cent sales tax in comparison to what we've been able to do when we did have the impact fees. I think we're going to find that we can do a lot more and have done a lot more with just a half-cent. So if the citizens are kind enough to move that to 1 cent, I agree, we need to do something. No doubt about it. There's not a man sitting on this board or a staff member that don't recognize what we need to get done and how we need to do it. What's the best way to do so? Is it the new people coming in? Perhaps, if that number comes out a lot higher than a 1 cent sales tax. But to me, a 1 cent sales tax for the people that are passing through our county and buys a tank of gas, or buys a candy bar and a Coke to go with that tank of gas and keep on moving, or come down here visiting and stay a week or so, help pay 25-35% of that infrastructure, so everybody benefits from it. So that's what I'm asking you to do. Is let's all keep an open mind. Let's weigh what we can do. The other thing that I took to Dan the other day is tax incremental financing. You take those 100 homes and they've just added so much new tax money to the county. Well, by state constitution, not just state law, but state constitution, we cannot borrow against ad valorem taxes. So in other words, that 100 homes coming in that was 100 acres of dirt, and now it's 100 homes, you know how much growth you're going to see there in ad valorem. Let's say $100,000, just to be simple with it. We can't say, okay, well, we're going to take that $100,000 of new money and we're going to borrow the $30 million we need to do Woodbine Road, and we're going to fix it knowing we can take that money and pay off that debt service. Constitution doesn't allow us to do it. So that's the things that everybody needs to recognize. The other thing about impact fees, we have to use it in just in certain areas.
Schools and roads. I believe police departments, fire departments.
Yeah. Well, no.
That's what we want.
Roads, we can't use it for sheriff's office. We can, if it's a transportation impact fee, I can't use that as a county commissioner. He can't use it as a county administrator to help buy more sheriff's cars, to put on more deputies.
Okay, then that would have to come from someplace else.
From sales tax. And see, sales tax is a broader tax that we have
Sales tax
more
can
use.
also, does not necessarily need to be paying for roads and schools, though. It can be used for various things.
That's what I mean.
Therefore, that is our issue with sales tax. With the impact fees, they go to certain things.
Okay, but we have a citizen advisory committee that sits here and makes sure that that half cent gets spent correctly, the way the citizens want to. And that's
Has-
all I'm asking. Right now,
Okay.
no determination's been made, but if everybody says, damn the torpedoes, we don't want a sales tax, we want impact fees, and we're going to have them, that's not the way we work together in this county and in this community to get things done. Let's keep an open mind, let's look at what we
We are
can
keeping an open
do.
mind, as I hope you would, because I believe that you will see that our group, we really don't want taxes raised, but that would be a concession that we would consider once you put impact fees in.
Well,
We want the impact fees first.
we-
We want this stuff set up
Okay.
before you
So
okay
you
all
say
these subdivisions.
you want. We can't do it that way. We can get a sales tax in place years before an impact
It's not
fee.
going to happen.
Well, then the roads are going to stay like they are. I'll be honest.
Where has all the money that you've had for the last 10 years from taxes gone on Woodbine and Chumuckla and 90 and
We
everything?
can open the finance books from the last 10 years, and you can look at every penny this county's taken in and everywhere it went. It's all on public record.
And I think just to be judicious with everybody's time, the best thing to do is if you'll get, well, and I'm sure collectively, like you said, through the group, information, but if you will get your email address or make sure that one of our folks have it, we're going to have information coming out later, either today or tomorrow, that'll have a lot of these economic breakdowns, and we can make sure that somebody at staff points you in the direction to answer those questions about the budget, because obviously
Okay.
we spend multiple workshops discussing it, so I know we're not going to be able to get through it just today, but I know they'll be glad to help you with that. And we may even have some sort of workshop in the future to where we try to answer some of these questions specifically for folks. And as Commissioner Cole said, best way I heard it was actually a pastor at a leadership conference. He said, leadership is always controversial, and if you don't believe it, ask any parent that's had a 2 or 3-year-old, and you tell them to pick up their toys or go to their room or whatever, and they're going to say no, and that shows you that leadership is controversial from the beginning. So I think the best way is that I can echo what he said is we have to work through this. Every one of us up here, us and our families live in this community. Every one of us have a passion to improve this community. I know I do. I have 2 young boys, and I'm going to try to do that the best I can and as well as I know they are. And that's my hope, is that you folks want to improve the community as well. So I think through that process, we can hopefully work through that and figure out a way. But I look forward to talking with you more on that. So I would just encourage you, give them your information, and
Who
we'll
do you
make
want me
sure.
to give it to?
If you'll give it to Dan,
Okay.
we'll make sure that we get that email to you as soon as we have it available.
Okay, do you just want mine, or do you want the couple hundred people that are in our group?
You could feel free to, however you want to do it. If you want to just forward them an email, I think we've already gotten some, but we'll make sure that we're going to get that dispersed. We've been working on it, and that way we can get that information to you.
Okay.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
I appreciate it, but like I said, and I apologize for, sometimes I get very excited about things, and I don't mean to be rude, and people have told me that I come across very harsh, and I apologize. But
you're welcome, Mayor.
when something means a lot to me, sometimes I raise my voice and I don't intend to. Sometimes I'm rude and I don't intend to be.
No, we appreciate you coming to the meeting.
So I just want everybody to know, we are a growing group, and I hope you will deal with this.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman, on just a lighter note, is there any way we could put a surcharge on the T-shirt industry? We could pay for a lot of roads with that. Just cheering things up a little bit.
We're gonna, pretty soon we'll have 3 distinct T-shirt groups in the audience, so I think that's what Commissioner Cole was referring to. But no, we appreciate you. We appreciate citizen advocacy. We appreciate citizens getting involved. With citizen involvement is really how we can move our community forward. The biggest thing is, like I told a reporter the other day, just to make educated decisions. And, we can't convey the voluminous amount of information that we have to study on a weekly basis in a headline or a 30-second Facebook clip. And the unfortunate thing is sometimes folks will take something they read, and whether it's accurate or not, and then they perpetuate that information. And as a very privileged, we had the opportunity today to get to hear from one of our U.S. Navy's fine admirals who came down to watch that change of command. And the funny thing is he challenged folks there. Usually what I catch myself telling people, he said, just try to be positive for 24 hours. He said for 24 hours, try to be positive on Facebook and everybody you talk to. And, that goes back to what I said. Thank God we live in the United States of America. We're not dealing with the tragedies like we see when you turn on the world news down in Venezuela. Thank God we live in Florida, in Santa Rosa County. And I think that's the reason while we are, roughly the 8th fastest growing county and the fastest growing state in the United States, this is a terrific and wonderful place to live. I'm very blessed to be able to raise my kids here, and I think sometimes it's good to put that in perspective. That's why we have citizens that are concerned about the growth rather than the blight caused by empty businesses and foreclosed homes. So we're going to get through that growing pain together. I feel confident of that. That is one of the main reasons I ran, and I know that is these men's passion. And so I just encourage you, as we get through that, let's all stay positive and be thankful that, thank God, we do live here in Santa Rosa County. So thank you. I don't know if you have any other questions specifically on this. If not, we'll continue.
Not on that one. The only other question I had was on the Whiting Aviation.
All right.
Park.
If you'll give me just a minute,
Okay.
I'll get you right back up here on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I would, if there's no further discussion from any other members of the community or any commissioners, I will make a motion to approve items number 2 and 3 on the engineer's report concerning the Dixon Preserve. Make that motion without objection. Hearing none, those items are approved. That
Question, does that mean those subdivisions?
Hey, hang on just a second, and we'll get you back up here. I will address that as we come back up. Moving on to the Budget and Finance Committee. If you will, you can come back up here now. I apologize. If you'll come back up. We just have to, for dexterity of live streaming and minutes, so that Miss Amanda can get everything on the record, we just have to get everything on the microphone. If you will, just hit that little button there. Yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
What, speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think it's on. Again, those 2 items then, so you have now approved those subdivisions? Is that what you, even after I voiced concern about us, you just went right ahead and approved everything?
Yes, ma'am. And just to give you a little history on this, and Roger or somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, because I am gifted enough to be wrong almost every day. These processes went through a rezoning process, so there was a sign that was put out. It was put on our agenda. It was, we published that on our website, and I believe that process started a couple months ago. And it went for a public hearing process. It was advertised in the newspapers. It went to the zoning board for their approval. That's a citizen advisory group. And again, that's advertised, and the public has the opportunity to come speak. And they approved it. And then it come to this board for approval in a special rezoning meeting at 6 p.m. And we approved it. That's another chance we have the public come talk. And so that the zoning issue had already been approved. So legally, the point we're at today is they're just coming in to approve the plat. So that's just so that legally we can say, okay, here's exactly where the houses are going and the dimensions and the roads. And so, yes, ma'am, that's what we've approved today. But this is not a, hey, we just had this meeting today, and I appreciate you voicing your concerns. But again, this has been a process that's been in effect for months. So we can't just throw on the brakes because one person says, hey, I'm not, I don't appreciate it. And again, that's not to belittle at all your opinion. We do value it. I mean, I appreciate it, but I just want you to know this has come before the public numerous times.
Okay, our group has been around for about a month now.
Okay.
So basically, to stop this from happening again, we have to come to every single solitary zoning meeting and commissioners meeting and read the paper every day to see when you're having meetings so that we can all come as a group to let you know we don't approve. Is that basically what you're saying?
No, ma'am, I'm not saying that. And again, I just want to tell you how I view the county commission role is I look at us as that we are elected by the citizens of this county that afford us the opportunity to borrow that time of leadership, and again, this is something we're borrowed, and I'm very humbled to have that opportunity as well as these other men. And during that time, I feel like most citizens expect that they sort of give us some leeway, some judicial leeway to make the best decisions we can. We have voluminous books, and this is not even some of the thickest, that go into every set of meetings that we have, and our staff works very hard, from a legal department to a finance to everything from, professional engineers on staff. We get this information and we review it, and we make those decisions on behalf of the citizens we represent. Now, absolutely every meeting is always open to the public, and we have always, that I've seen, encouraged public involvement and participation. But to tell you, well, is this the only way it gets stopped? I mean, this board, we have voted against projects before where there was no one here to speak on. We have voted in favor of projects where there's been many people here to speak on them. Again, we understand, and I am keenly aware that the unfortunate matter is every decision we make for a representative of 170,000 plus citizens, there are bound to be a portion of those citizens that aren't going to agree with probably every decision on here. But I think that's where they understand, hey, you know what, I may not agree with every decision, maybe 80%, but you've got a job to do. You've got to make that hard leadership decision, and so we're going to do that. So I'm not going to tell you that we're going to make any less of an informed or compassionate decision, whether you're here or not, but I'm going to tell you you're absolutely always welcome to be here.
Okay, so we should be at the zoning meetings and the commissioners' meetings. And do they meet once a week, once a month?
And again, if you'll get Dan your email address, I'll make sure that he forwards you a way that you can check every one of our meetings. We publish them all in the newspaper as well as online, and we get them out there a month ahead of time. And again, we do that so that obviously we operate under the Sunshine Law. Everything is out there for you to see.
Okay, well, I apologize for not being more informed, and like I said, it's been about a month that I've been extremely dedicated to this, and I plan to continue.
All right.
And again, you know, every day we are getting more and more people that feel the same way that we do.
Okay.
So,
We are a growing county, so.
Yes.
Did you have a question specifically here on this Whiting Aviation Park?
I was just
infrastructure
wondering
project?
what that is that you're spending $8 million on.
Okay, so this is probably, I wish Commissioner Salter was here just because I can't convey the passion and enthusiasm that he has because he's been working for so many years as sort of our pseudo military representative of this board. But I say with a big smile, this is extremely exciting. You know, we are home to NAS Whiting Field, who does more flight operations than any other military installation in the world. And so as part of that and helping bring good jobs to Santa Rosa County, these commissioners in their wisdom years ago purchased some property which adjoins NAS Whiting Field. And we have a unique, one-of-a-kind agreement with the military to be able to have a joint use access with their runway so that if we can bring some jobs such as companies that will be servicing those aircrafts and those helos that those men and women fly every day, they could do that in that close proximity and use that joint airway. And so to be able to do that, though, there was a lot of infrastructure, obviously, that had to go in, such as raising it and roadways, running sewer power. And so we applied to the Triumph program, which is, you know, some of the funding. You've probably heard about the Triumph board and you know, BP oil spill things. And so they have given us a grant award of $8,523,655. And then the Navy is matching that grant with $330,000 through this REPI grant reserves, and then we are going to take a $1,464,720 from economic development reserves and use towards that to bring that infrastructure there so that we can attract those jobs, and those again are great high-paying jobs. And the reason I say it with a smile is those will provide opportunities for people just like me that have kids that are coming up through the school system to be able to hopefully look forward to having really good paying jobs right here in our community so that they can live here and maybe I'll get to see my grandbabies one day too. But that is the premise of it, the best way I can explain it. So, and if you have any further details on it or need information, again, I just encourage you. I think our staff is, they are ready and willing to try to disseminate this. So if you have questions, but that's probably the best way I could sum it up there.
Okay. It sounds like a very good idea. I mean, I am a former military wife. I lived at Eglin for quite a while. So I know how important the military is. However, this is not going to be the military. This is going to be more like contract workers. But I don't know. When, you know, $1.5 million are going out and we don't have schools and we don't have roads. And even if you bring these people in, where are they going to live and where are they going to go to school?
Right.
And where are they going to drive?
Thank
So it all is a little circle here
you. Yes, ma'am. We're a growing
that has to be
community.
taken into consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I smile because that's my goal, is that hopefully my children can grow up and have a job here and grandchildren. And I know these men share that same passion. I know many people I met out in the community, and I've heard that since I was a boy, you know, hey, we need more high-paying jobs in Santa Rosa County. We need more high-paying jobs so my kids can live here. And so absolutely, as we bring those jobs to our region, and we are very blessed to have great partners like Escambia County and the city of Pensacola that are working to bring VT Aerospace and Navy Federal. And as we grow those jobs, obviously, you are absolutely correct. We are going to have to grow housing for these folks to live in, and schools to educate them, and you know, parks for these kids to play on. So it's again, it's an exciting time. It's challenging, but I'm looking forward to the opportunities that brings. So.
Okay. I have lived in Phoenix and I have lived in Miami, and I have seen the catastrophic mess in both of those.
Right. I would
and I
love
don't want that to happen. That's why I moved here.
All right. I look forward to, we can talk with you offline.
Okay.
But I need to move this
Okay.
because we've got a lot of folks out here.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I appreciate
ma'am.
your time.
All right. Thank you. I'm gonna make a motion without objection to approve the budget amendment 2019-113 for the Whiting Aviation Park. Hearing no objection, that item's approved. And we have no items under public service, public work, budget, and financial. Dan, you said you had a couple of plugs there.
Just three things to plug are the design portion of our design build team for the courthouse is holding their first stakeholder workshop next week in the courthouse, Wednesday and Thursday, the 20th and 21st, to go through the kind of where we left off, validate some numbers and start working on that design. So that's very exciting to have that moving forward. Along with Commissioner Lynchard's mention of the consortium, Florida Association of Counties Legislative Day is March 27th. I'll be going over for that. We'll see how our projects are moving through the appropriation pipeline and be meeting with our representative and possibly our senator while I'm over there. And then next week we host Leadership Santa Rosa on the 21st here. You all are certainly invited to attend. We're going to do a little board issue and then turn them over to some of the other constitutional officers before they go down to the courthouse and out to the sheriff's office for the afternoon. But we're going to start at 7:30. They'll be here till about 8:45.
Thank you, Dan. I know I'll be attending. I know all you gentlemen, as well as myself, have an extremely busy schedule. I think maybe that budget game, so to speak, that we're going to do with leadership, I think will be real good. If I don't know if Commissioner Peach has had an opportunity to attend the one that FACT does in Leon County, but it's a great exercise. And so I appreciate that, Dan. One thing, ma'am, I'll just tell you is you could take back, obviously, to the growing group is Dan had mentioned our legislative priorities, and one of our priorities for this board, actually top 5, was funding for Woodbine Road. So I would encourage you, please, as Commissioner Cole said, we're a team here trying to improve the community, and that team, you are on that team. We're all on the same boat. And please utilize your voice to reach out to our state delegation. You have a state representative as well as a state senator, and even our congressman, you know, and really for that matter, our senators, because they have a lot more dollars to throw around in Tallahassee and in Washington than we do. And so we've asked them for help with funding, and if you could ask them with us, you know, we would appreciate the help. So with that, I will open it to public forum if there's anyone else here that hasn't had the opportunity to speak yet. Yes, sir, Councilman. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for the city's support for all the projects you're doing.
George Jordan, 5585 Polaris Drive, Milton, Florida. On your event request that Jerry Cooey spoke on, number 2 there, I didn't realize what this item was when it came up, but I was at the Main Street Milton meeting last night, and it did come up that they are seeking a new management company, that the Historical Society is seeking a new management company for the imaging, and it seems like something that's not ringing quite as it should here. There was a lot of discussion when Kyle Varner came to Milton, and I think before you move this too far forward, it would be really good to check with Ed Spears and get some further information on that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else here today that hasn't had the opportunity to speak? Yes, ma'am, please come forward. if you will, if you haven't already spilled out a speaker's form, just afterwards, if you'll please give one to Miss Amanda, she'll make sure we get it on the record. Thank you. Just state your name and address. Thank you for being here.
Yes, my name is Jane Caffrey. I live at 17 Gilmore in Gulf Breeze, and I sent the commissioners a letter this morning regarding the Santa Rosa Shores Homeowners Association project to dredge channels in Santa Rosa Sound. And I just wanted to make myself available if you had any questions. I didn't really want to go through my letter again, but just let you know that I'm happy to respond to any questions that or concerns that you might have related to that.
No, thank you very much. I know we're in receipt of that. And you're the lady, I just apologize if I don't remember, is that name that's the professor at the University of West Florida? So,
Yes.
And again, so I appreciate it. It was very enlightening, and you have obviously been published far more times than I'll probably ever even get to read that many journals, but I appreciate you also having that to be able to educate the young folks that come through our community. Had the opportunity to review that and went back and had staff personally provide me some of the things from DEP and the Army Corps, and so I know that is a process where they're still going through that. Commissioner Lynchard is clearly much more versed on that project, being in his district, so I'm sure if he had any questions, I know your contact information's on there, and I'm sure he could reach out to that if so. But I don't know if no one else, I don't see anyone that has any questions at the moment, but.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Do we have anyone else here today that has not had the opportunity to speak? Yes, sir, come forward, just please state your name and address, and thank you for being here.
Michael Johnson, 4621 Forsyth Street, Baghdad. I'm here today. Dr. Charles DeSora asked me to speak. He was planning on being here. He has a serious concern about an intersection there in Baghdad where Old Baghdad Highway intercepts Forsyth Street going through Baghdad. There's been a number of accidents there. People have tried to, whatever, but it really is a concern. And one of Charles's issues is, like, first thing in the morning, you can hear the cars zooming by. Sounds like airplanes flying, especially right after dark, right after daylight. And there's been a number of accidents, but nothing serious. But it is a very, very dangerous with the children at the other end being in the schools. It's a straight shot. The person who lives on the corner has replaced their picket fence, I think, 3 or 4 times because of accidents and coming out of the park there. But the issue is we're concerned about somebody getting really, really hurt and really, really bad. And we don't know what the answer is. We just wanted to get it out before the public. If it's a yellow light flashing in the center of the street, fine. If it's a 4-way stop, fine. But I can tell you this, my bedroom's closer to the street than Charles's is. And you may know Charles lives in the Thompson house. His bedroom's probably 100 feet away from the road. My bedroom's maybe 40 feet from the road. And every morning, just after daylight, it's zoom, 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 zoom. Sounds just like that. So I understand our police are busy, and I understand this is an issue that may be somebody else's problem, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it's very important before somebody really gets hurt there.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cole.
Mr. Furman and me talked about this after Monday's meeting, and I believe we've discussed possibly making that a 4-way stop. And Mr. Furman will be bringing that paperwork.
That would be good.
That suggestion to the board for approval at a later meeting.
I think one of the things this board needs to understand is, most of our people work in Pensacola, and you can be in downtown Pensacola leaving Baghdad in 20 minutes riding the interstate. So as pace grows and the commerce is like a tidal wave coming our way, it's going to push more traffic down that road, because it really is. I would never go to Pensacola through Pace, because in 20 minutes you can ride the interstate, talk on your phone, do business, whatever you want to do, and it's a safe way to go. So it's going to be a problem, and it's going to get worse, and I don't think, there's no easy solution here. But at least we need to be aware of the liability or the obvious chance of accident.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
I believe I had the opportunity to meet you back when leadership went through. I think you came to the Baghdad Museum and spoke with us possibly. And I tell you, I appreciate everything y'all are doing in Baghdad, because it is just some beautiful historic homes there, and I know y'all are working to preserve them. And I know Commissioner Cole's going to work with him. And on a side note, I don't know if y'all noticed coming out of Whiting Field, y'all have probably seen them before. I thought it was really neat. They had the solar panel on top of one of the stop signs so that it has LED lights, and maybe that'd be a great place to try that out. So thank you for bringing that forward. And again, like I echoed to the lady before you, I know we're going to have growing pains and challenges and opportunities, and thank God we are in a country that is growing versus the opposite. But I know we're going to continue to work forward on those, and we're going to do our best and partner with the community, and thanks for bringing that forward.
I think you will. I think Baghdad's a real treasure. I think it really is. You know, the museum is the oldest museum structure in North Florida, and the houses there are just incredible. While I'm here, if you don't mind, I'd just like to make it known that, you know, it is a National Historic District, that we pursue with all haste to maintain those structures. The houses in Baghdad are over 100 years old, and we're not going to be able to replace that. And Baghdad's going to grow, and it's going to be very quaint. It's going to be very nice, because it is an historic district controlled by historic land development codes. And we appreciate the county doing that. But I really believe that Baghdad could be a real showplace for this county. And I believe if we maintain, where can you go in anywhere and find 5 Creole cottages lined up, 4 salt boxes from Boston, 4 Church Street is nothing but shotgun houses. And they're all intact because of heart pine lumber. They will not rot. They don't rot. Even if they're ignored, they don't rot unless they get wet. So we have a real treasure here that needs to be looked at from a different angle than just, well, it's another historic district, and, you know, but we're talking about something that started in 1840. We're talking about houses that were built in 1840 still standing there. It's an incredible place. And thank you for your time. I just wanted to put that on the record.
No, thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else here today that has not had an opportunity to speak to the board that wishes to do so? All right, hearing none, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.